From Daily Trust News Center, this is News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, flood kills 24, destroys over 16,000 houses in Katsina as 30 are reported missing in Anambra boat mishap. Freed train passenger receives hero's welcome in Kebbi State. Hundreds attend Maulud celebration in Kaduna. On the foreign scene, Burkina Faso to pick a transitional president ahead of elections. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News. I am Medina Dauda Nadabu. No fewer than 24 persons have been killed and 16,625 houses destroyed in Katsina State as a result of flood and windstorm. The State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, in a statement issued by its public relations officer, Umar Muhammad, on Friday, said a total of 1,620 farmlands were submerged in Danja, Ingawa, and Kafur local government areas of the state. He said farm produce estimated to cost millions of naira was destroyed as a result of the disaster. Mohammed noted that the agency had assessed the affected houses and farmlands in order to assist the victims. He added that the state government would soon begin the distribution of relief materials to the victims. About 30 persons are reportedly missing after a boat carrying 85 passengers on Friday capsized in Umunakwe community of Ogbaru Local Government Council of Anambra State. According to an eyewitness, the boat, which took off from Onuku Bridge, was heading for Nkwo Market and Ogbakuba, both in Ogbaru local government area, when it capsized. The eyewitness said so far 30 persons are unaccounted for. Speaking on the incident, the Transition Committee Chairman, Ogbaru local government area, Pascal Aniebuna, said some of the passengers were rescued while several others lost their lives. Meanwhile, the former House of Representatives member for Ogbaru Federal Constituency, Victor Afam Ogene, who expressed sadness over the accident, said Ogbaru is devastated and in shock over the accident that claimed the lives of some of its sons and daughters. Return of Usmanu Gujus, one of the freed 23 remaining train passengers, to Birnin Kebbi, created a frenzied atmosphere, with many residents coming to celebrate his release. Gujus, an official of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, was abducted along with others who boarded the Abuja-Kaduna train on March 28. They were released on Wednesday, October 5. Relatives and well-wishers came out to Kofar Kola in Birnin Kebbi to give a hero's welcome. Meanwhile, the federal government says no kobo was paid for the release of the 23 kidnapped passengers earlier abducted in the ill-fated Abuja-Kaduna train attack on March 28, 2022. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the Minister of Transportation, Muazu Sambo, said the released passengers have already been reunited with their families after proper medical checkups and examination. The minister, who expressed happiness with the release of the victims, explained that the target of the government was to get the victims out safely without the payment of ransom. He added that there are plans for the resumption of train services on the Abuja-Kaduna line. Over 300 Islamic schools joined the celebration of Eid al-Mawlud at Ahmadu Bello Stadium, Kaduna, to commemorate the birth of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Politicians from within and outside Kaduna including former Governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso, also attended the event. Bello Musa reports that some Christian faithful also joined the celebration.
The event commenced with prayers seeking Allah's protection against calamities that have overwhelmed the nation. Sheikh Samail Mediwani enjoined Muslims to emulate the exemplary life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The celebration at Ahmadi Bello Stadium attracted thousands of faithful. Pastor Yohana Buru, a Christian cleric who attends the Maulud, emphasized the need to promote peaceful coexistence among the adherents of various religions.
I do celebrate Christmas for over a decade. I can assure you that not only hundreds sometimes, but even thousands of Muslims turn to the church to celebrate Christmas with me, the birth of Jesus Christ. So what is the evil behind me coming with a team of pastors to also return the good that the Muslims do come for over a decade, coming to the church celebrate Christmas with me?
The message of Muslim Ummah is to learn what Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam brings to us. And what he brings to us is in the Holy Quran. Let everybody learn what Prophet brings to us from Almighty Allah in the Holy Quran.
Former Governor of Kano State Rabiu Kwankwaso and other politicians from within and outside Kaduna also graced the annual Maulud.
I want to urge all of you to ensure that your voters card so that on the election day you will come out and vote the right candidates.
Is to wish everyone that is here a very good regard and warm regard, and also to congratulate not only people that are here, to congratulate the entire Muslim of the world, because Maulud is an Arabic language, birthday is an English language. This is the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at which every Muslim celebrates, at which every Muslim cannot quantify the happiness how we are feeling today.
Since the beginning of month of Rabiul Awal, the third in the Islamic calendar, Muslims engage in organizing Maulud at different places, celebrating the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
The Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has called on Muslims to step up their emulation of the characters and teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in their relationships with God and fellow human beings. He made the call in a statement signed by his special advisor on media and publicity, Lanre Lasisi, to felicitate with Nigerian Muslims on the celebration of this year's Eid al-Mawlud. Gbajabiamila said the exhibition of love and peace towards one another, as taught by the Holy Prophet, becomes imperative for building a strong and prosperous Nigeria. The Speaker said the love and peaceful coexistence with one another, as espoused by the life and teachings of the Holy Prophet, would greatly ease the journey towards a destination we all crave as Nigeria moves into the 2023 electioneering process. Police in Katsina have rescued 9 victims of human trafficking in Daura local government area of the state. The victims are from Ondo, Lagos, Edo, and Kaduna states. Abdullahi Ahmadi has the details.
The victims were on a journey to Libya en route Daura-Kongolam border with Niger Republic. Based on credible intelligence, the police raided the victims' hideout in Daura and rescued them unhurt.
Trying to say here is it is an offense. Human trafficking is an offense against the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Anybody that is traveling to any of foreign countries must follow the due process, apply for a visa, get a traveling passport, and ensure that you are not going to be trafficked to go and be made either to go and commit yourself into the hands of traffickers who at the end of the day, they may likely put their lives in a very serious risk.
The police said that the victims were conveyed from Kano to Daura by a driver who took to his heels on noticing the presence of police operatives. Police authorities advised citizens to be vigilant about the company their children and wards keep to ensure their moral upbringing is not compromised. The victims say they were deceived by some people who promised them white-collar jobs in Libya and Europe.
They want to drop us later. So as we got the job, we saw some ways. They are running after us. We think that they are kidnappers. Maybe they want to
kidnap you.
Daura Kongolam border remain one of the major routes used by human traffickers to Libya and other European countries in recent times. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Coast Television News, Kazana.
The Nigerian Immigration Service at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport has received 11 Nigerians returned by the Liberian Immigration Service, LIS. The 11 young men were rescued by the LIS on September 11 on that country's high sea after stowing away on a sea vessel from the Apapa port in Lagos 4 days earlier. The list said 14 men comprising 13 Nigerians and a Cameroonian initially stowed away, but 2 Nigerians lost their lives after the crew of the ship tortured them when they emerged to beg for food. The crew of the vessel reportedly threw them aboard to die. The controller in charge of the MMIA Immigration Command, Adiola Adeshokan, praised the efforts of their counterparts from Liberia for rescuing and feeding the men in the spirit of the ECOWAS protocol. Chairmen of political parties in Kaduna State have warned divisional police officers, DPOs, in the state not to allow themselves to be compromised by politicians during the forthcoming 2023 elections. Bello Musa reports that they made the call during a meeting with police to ensure violence-free campaigns.
It is an interactive meeting aimed at ensuring that no violence erupts during campaigns in the state. Political party chairman at the meeting called on the police to be neutral and apolitical to be able to handle any challenge that will undermine the electoral process.
We are calling on the security agents, most especially the police. They are our friends who work together. They should be unbiased, irrespective of all political parties.
And during that last local government election, the police called us and they said they were battle ready for elections all over the state. 24 hours to election day. Then they were not ready again.
At the headquarters here, you do the right thing. But down to your local government level, the DPOs, they are the ones that are always compromising. And once that thing happens, it brings a lot of problem within the opponent. So if, as you have said, if the time comes and there's any possibility of transferring them temporarily from one local government to another, I think you do an excellent work because the problem will come from the local government.
The Kaduna State Police Commissioner promised to provide level playing ground for every political party in the state.
Members of the Nigeria Police Force, being the lead agency in election security management in this country, to give priority to election security and to support INEC by creating the right security ambience, the right security environment for a free, fair, credible and each free election.
This meeting between the police and the political parties in Kaduna State comes following the recent election security training for police commissioners and senior police officers in the 6 geopolitical zones. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
The effectiveness of mass media in the fight against drug abuse through campaigns, persuasive communications, and public awareness programs to influence youths positively to shun drugs has been emphasized. The chairman, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, made the comment while receiving management staff of Media Trust on a courtesy visit in his office. Kabir Lawal tells us more.
Welcoming the Media Trust management, Chairman Chief Executive Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, said the fight against drug abuse is the responsibility of all and sundry, especially the media, going by the huge role they play in influencing the public and setting agenda for the government. The chairman commended Trust Television for creating programs and called for a strong partnership and synergy between the two entities in fighting the menace of drug abuse.
It was based on competence, ethics, and professionalism. You have in a short space of time established yourselves and expanded not only the print that we all know, but you're online.
NDLEA boss said 10.9 million Nigerians use cannabis, which according to World Health Organization impairs the brain, describing the situation as alarming and disheartening. He said the agency is not just saddled with the responsibility of just harassing those in possession of the illicit drugs, but also counsel those who need rehabilitation to enable them contribute their quota to the upliftment of the country.
The drug scourge concerns all Nigerians. It's a situation unique in the sense that there's no discrimination. It's not whether you are from the north or south that you use drugs, or Muslim or Christian, or male or female. It's everywhere. And it's actually the #1 problem, because it's also at the root of the criminalities.
The Group Chief Executive Officer of Media Trust, Munir Gwarzo, appreciated the NDLEA chairman for the reception and a job well done, where he said Media Trust is ready to contribute towards the fight against drug menace and promised the organization's full support.
That Daily Trust has been covering the excellent activities you've been doing, and we want to continue to partner with you. We want to continue to do what is right for the country, and that's why we're here to pay you a courtesy call and to also inform you that Media Trust is no more limited to only the newspaper. We have the television, we have the digital, and we have the radio. All these are aimed at deepening our services and providing more platforms.
He said the problem of drug abuse is a national problem that affects public health and the security of the nation, which has to be addressed. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, story of physically challenged corps member. Stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of our top stories. Flood kills 24, destroys over 16,000 houses in Katsina, as 30 are reported missing in Anambra boat mishap. And freed train passenger receives hero's welcome in Kebbi State. Moving to other news. As part of efforts to alleviate the impact of flood in Bayelsa, the state government has directed all primary and secondary schools to immediately proceed on a 6-week flood break. The flood break, which is compulsory for both private and public schools, is expected to protect students from any adverse effects of the flood. Apart from ordering the closure of all primary and secondary schools, Governor Duo Idiri's government also constituted a task force to identify high grounds that persons affected by the flood can relocate to, while all closed water canals in the state are being opened up to reduce the impact of the flood. Massive flooding has been experienced in many coastal and non-coastal parts of the country in the last few weeks due to excessive floods and inflow from external places like Cameroon. A consultant pediatric neurologist at Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital, Oluwatosin Olorunmotemi, says cerebral palsy is preventable in pregnant women who guard against it in their unborn children. At the World Cerebral Palsy Day celebration in Ile-Ife, Olorunmotemi highlighted ways to prevent cerebral palsy in children and urged people to stop discrimination and show love and care to affected children. Hamid Oyegbade files in this report as presented from our studio.
These are parents and relatives of children affected by cerebral palsy. The agony was boldly written on their faces, but they struggled to smile with tears. Cerebral palsy is a group of disorders that hinders muscle movement and coordination, affecting a person's ability to move and maintain balance and posture. As part of activities commemorating World Cerebral Palsy Day celebration 2022, the Cerebral Palsy Multidisciplinary Team at Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital's complex in Ile-Ife gathered stakeholders to reflect, learn, and celebrate with affected children.
To cater for only a child with cerebral palsy is not easy, talk less of two. So what I can say in summary is that it's God that has been helping me. It's not easy. You know, as I've said earlier, that it got to a point that I'm wishing that maybe God should take them from me, because the stress, the pain, the shame is too much. But I just keep on encouraging myself and thank God for some people around me, maybe pastor, my husband, encouraging me. I just hope that one day God will still bring out message.
At a point, I became fed up. I wanted to give up. But then I summoned the courage to educate people that this cerebral palsy is not a disease. It's just a condition that our child will overcome.
Dr. Oluwatosin Olorunmotemi, a consultant pediatric neurologist at Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital, Ile-Ife, appealed to people to show love and support to children affected by cerebral palsy, as she advised parents on measures to guard against the condition.
It's a preventable condition largely because most of the causes, especially in the environment, are preventable. You know, I said it's usually from injury occurring to the brain, especially about the time of delivery. That's the most common way it occurs in the environment. And most of the time it occurs when the delivery is not well monitored or pregnancy is not well taken care of. So it's important that mothers who are pregnant should register their pregnancy early in antenatal clinic and have the pregnancy monitored early so that even if there are prenatal causes, they can be identified. And the delivery should be in the government approved center or hospital.
At the event, children with cerebral palsy defied the limitation of their disorders as they danced in thanksgiving to God for being alive. The theme for the 2022 edition is Millions of Reasons.
Environmental Health Council of Nigeria wants a review of public health law in Nigeria to stop the spread of preventable diseases. Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of the Council, Dr. Yakubu Baba, made the call during an interview at Media Trust Group office in Abuja. Trust TV's Fatima Musa reports that Baba also believes that ending open defecation by 2025 is achievable with synergy among three key ministries of water resources, health and environment. The report.
The Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Yakubu Baba, said the mandate of the Council is to regulate issues of sanitation, food hygiene, premises inspection, hospitals, hotel services, international regulation, disease control and surveillance, abattoir, and many more. He calls for review of public health law to provide stiffer fines for breaching basic sanitation requirements.
The mandate of the Council has been expanded to regulate the 21 component that made up what we call environmental health as defined by the World Health Organization. So the Council is there to regulate the 21 components of environmental health on all its ramifications.
On ending open defecation by the year 2025, Dr. Baba said signing Executive Order 9 by President Muhammadu Buhari will enable them achieve the target.
The government has the political will to end open defecation by 2025. And the President has gone ahead to issue Order number 9. But what is required is the implementation or to bring out the roadmap, how we can be able to achieve the open defecation as targeted by the President. And this required integration and collaboration of the key player ministries.
The registrar opposed the government's rollback malaria policy, saying the country can eliminate malaria by first attacking the vector rather than spending monies to buy mosquito nets.
What we need to look into is the Federal Ministry of Environment should be given adequate funds to do what we call integrated pest management. When we say integrated pest management, it means to apply all the strategy, all the methodology of controlling drastically the number of mosquitoes in Nigeria.
He said environmental health components have been neglected over time and there is need to bring back the sanitary inspectors to address the environmental issues like flooding within states and local government areas. Fatima Musa, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Red Cross Society in Katsina is training students on disaster response and management. The students selected from the over 500 secondary schools undergo training on the best ways to reduce casualty during disasters. Abdullahi Ahmadi has details of the report.
The selected students and staff received training on first aid drills and careful evacuation of victims of banditry, fire and flood disasters in secondary schools.
They teach us many things, that how to save life, how to reduce pain, in short, first aid. Yes, how to rescue yourself from these banditry issues. They teach us how to run away or how to survive without getting wounded.
Things among them, evacuation drill is among. How to coordinate your students from a danger area to a safe area without having casualty or too much casualty as it happens.
The two-day first aid drill workshop, which is coming amidst heightened insecurity in Katsina State, is expected to be stepped down to all the over 500 secondary schools. This will also be married with the schools' safety clubs, which are rendering similar activities in all the secondary schools of the state. The training, as the organizers claimed, is as important as the curricular activities in schools in view of the dangers students and teachers of secondary schools are exposed to.
The logic for this was that Katsina, or northwestern part of the country, is facing a lot of insecurity problem. So we are trying to make a kind of school safe declaration for them to understand and feel at home whenever they are in schools. If something happens in school among their colleagues, they have the knowledge to assist. They have the basic requirement to give them necessary first aid when in need.
This training, the organizers believe, will promptly increase the capacity and resilience of teachers and students, thereby facing their academic activities with all seriousness. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Power supply in some communities in Benue State has witnessed an improvement in recent times. Residents of these communities who spoke with Jimmy Anzande on the development are elated and want the status quo either maintained or improved upon. The report.
Most of the residents of Makurdi, the state capital, are civil and public servants, smallholder business owners and farmers. They are happy that the life situation has improved.
I can say there's a lot of improvement. Let's see from the voltage rates now. The voltage rate is so high and they don't take the light as often as then.
Like this rain season, we have improvement by giving us steady light.
An increment on the tariff, which is actually not their fault because they've been stable light, so tariff has to increase. And I'll also talk to their customers to try and make sure they pay their bills.
Although they say there may be more to the power supply than meets the eye, they are calling for consolidation and improvement in service delivery.
But immediately we enter dry season now, we are not seeing it normal as we were supposed to see it.
At times, the transformer will cut us off, but the light will be on. So we just don't have light. Like now I'm talking to you now, we don't have light.
Some of the residents appealed to the Jos Electricity Distributing Company to address complaints about exorbitant fees, which they say are not sustainable within the context of the present economic situation.
There is a lot of improvement, but the charges are high. So if they can adjust it, we'll be very happy.
They should try and do something, because even if they leave the light stable like that, and still yet, if we don't have business, if our work is not moving well and the light is stable, and we cannot raise that money to pay our bills, it's still not helping matters. So the best thing for them to do, at least let them reduce it.
Well, that of payment, we can say it has gone beyond 100% increment, to the best of my knowledge, because per a unit now will pay as from 30, 35 up or thousands.
A tour around the metropolitan environment shows that the use of generators has reduced due to improved power supply in the state.
The federal government has signed a memorandum of understanding with the private sector for the economic empowerment of older persons. The MOU is expected to be executed through nationwide artisanal and tree planting work schemes and market development for produce update. The Director General of the National Senior Citizen Center, who signed on behalf of the federal government, said the gesture is to ensure that older persons get empowered through their day-to-day activities, especially farming, to further boost their entrepreneurship, which will in turn add value to their lives. The CEO of the Business Visa Training Company signed on behalf of the private sector.
Older persons, older women are their assets in their communities and are doing things that are not necessarily acknowledged and not necessarily paid for. Now, MSCC has recognized that where older persons are empowered, where their assets are identified, their entrepreneurship is acknowledged and then empowered, then they can continue to create value.
So this partnership, we basically, in Business Visa, what we do, we identify what we even have in the land first, and also how better we can improve it for us to now get the better value chain for it. And also, we don't just push them to add value to it and leave them with it. Also get the off-takers.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan has called for mutual understanding and peaceful coexistence among Nigerians to ensure the development of Nigeria. Jonathan stated this in Bauchi State during a condolence visit to the family of the Bauchi State governor over the demise of the governor's elder brother, Abubakar Mohammed. Adamu Imam has details.
The former president, while in Bauchi, also commiserated with the emir of Bauchi, Rilwanu Suleiman Adamu, over the demise of governor's elder brother, Abubakar Mohammed. He eulogized the deceased, whom he carved a nice for himself as a management staff of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
We all know that one day we'll all leave. Philosophers say that the world is a stage where we only play our role, and after playing a role, you step aside. And sometimes we'll step aside too early, probably when the ovation is too loud, so that we'll mourn them more. Our brother has done well, he has achieved. He's a well-educated person. Worked for the whole Nigeria because he works in this central bank and got to the level of management staff.
In his response, the state governor Bala Muhammad described President Jonathan as one of the best presidents Nigeria ever had, as he relates with all in the interest of the nation. He appreciated the visit and thanked the former president for finding time to mourn with the family. At the Emir's palace, Emir Rilwanu Suleiman Adamu also confirmed that death is inevitable for the living and urged all to leave positive legacies while on earth.
We pray that God Almighty to give us fortitude to bear this loss. Your Excellency, members of your entry, we appreciate one again and we wish you to pray Allah to increase you in health and wisdom. And we wish you pleasant stay there in Bauchi and safety to back to your respected destination.
Abubakar died in a Turkish hospital after a protracted illness. Adamu Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
A physically challenged National Youth Service Corps member serving in Benue State, Peter Guer, has distributed 50 wheelchairs to those who need them in Makurdi. The report.
The Corps member described the gesture as a modest contribution to those who share similar conditions with him, but do not have the means to get one. The donation is a Community Development Service CDS project for the Corps member, who served with the Independent National Electoral Commission in Makurdi.
Being motivated by the challenges I face while interacting with the environment, I always have difficulty and challenges while trying to assess the infrastructure around, which has in a way affected my functionality, and I feel that others out there too are also facing same challenges by the fact that they are impaired and they could not afford to go out and source for money by themselves and have access to these wheelchair devices. I go out to look for a way on how I will do and touch the life. That's why I've constructed the wheelchair walkways, and I also provide the mobility devices to help those that don't have it. Their disability as an opportunity for development. They shouldn't look at their own, leave themselves to be pitied by anybody. They should make themselves very useful to the society such that the society will stand to benefit even with their disability.
One of the beneficiaries, Henrik Bechu, who appreciated a gesture from one of them, said he was elated, as a wheelchair would be a plus to his business.
Attend to my daily activities, especially as a physically challenged person. It will enable me to attend to my daily business.
The NYC State Coordinator for Benue State, Abe Dankaro, while commissioning the wheelchairs, appreciated the effort of Peter Gui and called on the government to complement it by doing more to help those in need.
Yeah, to the benefit of humanity and people with special talent in our midst, I wish to commission this round.
The project conceived by Peter Gui was funded by Beauty Gate Handicapped People Center, Jos.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back after this timeout. Welcome back. The Nigerian Navy says it has dislodged some oil thieves in the oil-rich Niger Delta region of the country. The dislodgement followed an order to heads of formations and units in the Niger Delta region by the Chief of the Naval Staff to end crude oil theft. The report.
Armed with these directives, the commander of the Nigerian Navy ships, Pathfinder, Sorrow, and Delta moved into some of the creeks used by criminals in the cooking of crude oil to produce automotive gas oil, also known as diesel. The commander, NNS Pathfinder, Commodore Suleiman Ibrahim, briefed some defense correspondent at the guided tour to one of the cooking sites popularly known as Market Square, located in the creeks of Obumekeri community in Degema Local, River State, at the end of the tour. The commander, NNS Soro Commodore Daniel Atakpa, blamed the management of the International Oil Company, IOCS, and multinational oil companies, MOCS, for the increasing rate of crude oil theft.
What we have here is that we deactivated here 3 weeks ago, but as you can see, when we're coming in there, they had already started connecting those places again, which we'll still deactivate before we leave here now. Like you saw in that dugout pit, crude oil was flowing, has been flowing since. It was because they heard us coming, that was why they abandoned everything and ran away, and the crude oil is still flowing. And nobody can stop that crude oil flow except at the tapping point. If the concerned oil company is notified, if they feel like they can stop it, if they don't feel like, they may not stop it, because experience has shown that many a times we've made such reports and nothing has been done about it.
He accused them of refusing to stop the flow of crude from old oil heads, which according to them are no longer economically viable.
The Navy will do its part, but other agencies also have their part to play. And that is the message that we really want them to get, that the Navy cannot do it all alone. While we're moving to deactivate a place, it is for them to go and lock up that place.
The commander, NNS Delta, Commodore Abdul Hamid Baba Inna, said the team also visited one of the illegal sites where oil is locally refined and dislodged those involved in the act, adding that several cooking pots and storage tanks were destroyed.
This site has been deactivated, and it was deactivated using swarm bogies for better effect. This operation was done sometime last week, and you can see that the people have not been able to come back to do anything here again. Aside from this particular site, there are so many others at different locations within this location.
The Chief of Naval Staff, who is worried about the increasing rate of oil theft in the country, is hopeful that with these efforts, the menace will be drastically reduced.
The Nigeria Customs Service has seized 11,358 bags of 50 kg foreign parboiled rice, an equivalent of 38 trailers between July and September 2022. The seizures occurred along Idiroko borders, Ogun State. Addressing journalists in Lagos on Friday, the Customs Area Controller in charge of the Ogun 1 Area Command, Bamidele Makinde, said that the command also recorded the seizure of 1,550 pieces of used tires and 180 bales of used clothing in a warehouse situated along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Ogun State, within the period under review. He said the command generated the sum of 38 million naira as revenue only from import duties and auction sales of petroleum products. He added that the value of the contraband stood at 341 billion naira. For centuries, tax has been a source of revenue that governments use to fund public projects for societal development. Amidst concerns over tax payment in the informal business sector, Trust TV speaks to some traders in Gombe on the issue of compliance with tax payments. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
There are speculations that business operators in the informal sector of the Nigerian economy engage in tax evasion. Tumfre Market is hosting hundreds of traders operating various businesses. We speak to some traders on the level of compliance to tax payment.
Monthly or? No, it's not monthly, it's per year. They used to come every year. They used to come and ask for the tax. Even last year we pay. Even this year again we still pay for it.
We pay 10,000, 7,000, and 3,000 naira to state, federal, and local governments, respectively, as tax per annum.
Yes, I do pay tax every year, and in fact every 6 months they do come and collect tax. But at times you find out that sometimes they will not give you proper receipt.
However, some business operators said they do not see the benefit of the money being paid to the government as tax.
The reason why they are paying tax is for development, and at times you will see like in the road, like some of the area, they are not really making good utilizations of the tax which is being paid. So what I'm advising the government and those that are in authorities is that they should endeavor to make some of this tax, let it be reflectional.
Gombe State government recently inaugurated Revenue Recovery Tribunal to strengthen tax collection.
Let me call on the good people of Gombe State to adhere to the decisions of the tribunal and to keep up the noble civic responsibility of paying tax. And this will improve government's capacity to provide basic amenities, invest in education and healthcare, expand on our existing infrastructure, create jobs for our teeming youth, unlock opportunities for businesses.
It is the expectation of Nigerians that governments at all levels will make judicious use of taxpayers' money for developments. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
We now bring you news on the foreign scene. Burkina Faso said on Saturday that a process to select a transitional president ahead of elections would begin next week, following a coup by disaffected military officers against a ruling junta. Traoré was declared president on Wednesday after a two-day standoff with Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba, who seized power in January. Togo's government on Monday confirmed that Damiba had arrived in the country after fleeing the capital Ouagadougou. Traoré was at the head of a corps of disgruntled junior officers, but there were rumors just as a few days later of discussions among some other army generals on potentially replacing him. Demonstrators gathered in the capital of Burkina Faso on Thursday to show their support for Traoré amid rumors of internal divisions in the army. At least 12 people were killed in India when a bus caught fire after hitting a truck on a highway in western India early on Saturday. An official said another 43 people with serious burns were taken to a hospital in Nashik, a city in Maharashtra state. Most passengers were sleeping when the bus caught fire at about 5 a.m. local time, while the vehicle was completely burned. The Press Trust of India news agency said. Some people living near the highway reached the spot but could not help as the raging fire engulfed the vehicle. The rescue work started after the fire service and police doused the blaze. For sports news, Chelsea maintained their revival under Graham Potter as goals from Kai Havertz and Christian Pulisic inspired a 3-0 win against struggling Wolves on Saturday. Potter has now won 3 of his 4 matches in all competitions since replacing the sacked Thomas Tuchel. Having drawn with RB Salzburg in his first Chelsea match, Potter has overseen 3 successive victories against Crystal Palace, AC Milan, and Wolves. Potter made 7 changes from Wednesday's 3-0 Champions League mauling of Milan, and Chelsea cruised to victory. Third bottom Wolves suffered a 3rd successive loss, with interim coaches Steve Davis and James Collins unable to generate any momentum after Bruno Lage's sacking. The 2022 Division of African Under-19 Men's Cricket Qualifier has ended in Abuja, with Kenya lifting the trophy after they beat host Nigeria by 11 runs. Kenya, who won the toss and opted to bat, scored 90 runs, all wickets out in 35 overs, while Nigeria scored 79 runs in 20.4 overs. Sports correspondent Adeni Ajisafe has more.
In a keenly contested game at Package B of MK Abiola Stadium in Abuja, the 2 teams qualified for the finals after playing in week-long qualifiers that kicked off on September 22nd with Botswana, Sierra Leone, Rwanda and Malawi participating. Nigeria had won 4 games going to the finals of the qualifier before the final loss. Captain of Nigeria under-19 men's cricket team, Abdulkarim Ridwan, said despite the defeat, they hope for the best in the Division 1 qualifiers.
We lost early wickets, so from the middle, we try cover up, but we try our best, but it wasn't enough. I'm not disappointed because we are already in Division 1 and we can come back strong because I have a trust in my guys.
Minister of Youth and Sport Development, Sunday Dare, while touring the cricket facility at the stadium, expressed joy at the development of cricket in Nigeria.
Nigeria climbing up very closely, closing up on South Africa, I guess. And what we've seen today, we've seen these young ones under 19. The future is really bright for them. I am proud of them, even though I know we've qualified. We didn't win today, but we still won because we're still in the race. And when they show up again in March, we will beat Kenya. Okay?
President of Nigerian Cricket Federation, Oyi Akpata, believes that the Nigerian under-19 cricket team, which gave their best and showed that cricket is growing in Nigeria, winning 4 out of their 5 games, will do better next time.
We're 6 down for about 20 runs. What shocked them today was that we have a full batting lineup. Prosper Oseni was there, then you had some people, this was just hard luck at the end of the day. And when you have hard luck, it's life, it's part of life. That's what we talk about cricket. So the ability of being a good sportsman or progressing in life generally is how you have those lessons. I mean, from what I've seen, I'm very hopeful that we'll qualify for the next World Cup. We have things in place to make sure that this team that you see, talented individuals, we are even going to come back stronger and better.
Kenya, Nigeria and Sierra Leone have qualified for the Division 1 African qualifiers coming up in South Africa. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajisafe.
On a lighter note, Media Trust joined the rest of the world to mark International Customer Service Week. This is how it was celebrated. Take a look. Beautiful, you would say. On that note, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. I am Medina Dauda Nadabo, thanking you for being there.